Hey guys, just real quick before we get started, I wanted to let you know that in addition to this oil change do-it-yourself how-to tutorial video, which is in particular for my Ariens brand snowblower, this can also be applied to various other snowblowers if you just take note of the differences. But also just wanted to point out that I do have other snowblower videos in my series as well, such as how to change your spark plug, how to lubricate various joints in the snow thrower unit, how to add fuel stabilizer, and prepare your machine. So check those out. Thanks. Hope you like this video.
Okay guys, let's get started. We're gonna do a quick video on how to prep your Ariens snowblower. I have the Ariens Deluxe 28. That's the model number, that's a serial number as well as the model number. Also there's a separate manual just for the engine, so we'll go into that. But again, here's the machine, 28 inches wide. Here's the machine. We're going to change the oil, also change the spark plug, and do a couple other bits to get this bad boy ready for the winter. Okay, so since last year I ran the fuel completely dry so I wouldn't have any sludgy fuel. This year we're gonna remove the cap, make sure you get all the dust out of there. You don't want anything falling in there. Now this is a really important tip, and I paid the price last year. This red little plastic thing, it says fuel level on it. Do not fill it above that. If you fill it above that, you're gonna be in for a world of pain, and you're gonna have to use a turkey baster or something to suck out the extra fuel. So let's go ahead, we'll fill it up with enough fuel to get running. We'll get the oil running for about a couple minutes and we'll change the oil. Okay, now since all modern gas caps have this ridiculous feature, mine always breaks, so what I do is I use a funnel, pour it directly in there. Since I have one hand, I'm not going to demonstrate that, but we'll fill this guy up about halfway, enough to get started. Okay, a quick additional couple other tips. So before I did that, I made sure I wiped the inside of the funnel. You don't want any garbage going in your fuel. Next step is the fuel. Get as high octane as you can. I'm using 93. I'm up here in New Hampshire. It runs better on high octane and it'll start better from what I've heard. So only a few more cents for the winter. It's worth a small couple dollars a year in my opinion. So for this, I didn't fill it up all the way. I probably have about half in there. I'll tighten this up and we'll get this guy started. Okay, so I have my manual here. Basically, also feel free to pause this if you need to. We're gonna follow these steps exactly. So we're gonna make sure that the key is on the on position. So the key right here is to the right. That's the on position. Also, we want to make sure that our fuel is in the on position. Looks like I left it on because I ran it dry last year. So up would be off, right, 3 o'clock is on. So we have that. We also want to make sure that our choke is all the way up. So here's the choke. Farther you turn it to the right till it's wider is on. So turn it all the way on. I'm also going to make sure that this is a engine speed, so turtle is slow, hare, rabbit's fast. I always typically leave that on the hare, the fastest setting. So choke is on. What else do we need to do? Prime the system 3 times. So here's the prime knob right here. I'm gonna hit it 3 times. 1, 2, 3. Also called the primer bulb by some folks. So my model has the electric start right here. There's a cap. You just remove it. Also does have the pull. I'm not going to demonstrate that today. But you're going to plug that in. We have everything on. And I'm going to hold down this button and see if it starts. It should. So that was first start. I didn't start it at all this whole year. So we're gonna let that guy run. We're gonna let that run for a couple of minutes. In about a minute, I'm gonna lower the choke down to the full speed and run it. We'll just let this guy warm up for a minute. I'm doing this a couple days after Thanksgiving. Just want to get it prepped for the new year, for the new snow season. Okay, also to note, after it's started, you can unplug that, get rid of your wire, and good idea to cover the cap back up just to keep snow out of there. Okay, so once the machine starts like it's sounding like this, it's probably warmed up. You can lower the choke. And I turned it upwards, so it's running at full normal idle speed right now. We're gonna let this run for a couple of minutes, and then we're gonna change the oil. All right, just a quick tip. The machine is very loud. I'd recommend getting a pair of ear protectors, whether or not it has the audio with radio or aux in, or some earplugs, something simple so you don't go deaf. Okay, so I just turned the key to the left to kill the engine. Also, just for best practice, I'm gonna also shut off the fuel. That may or may not be needed. What I'm gonna do as well is loosen the oil to allow the oil to drain more freely. Then below, grab your tools. I personally am using a 1/2 inch wrench. I'm gonna hold this. The book calls for a 14 millimeter. My set only goes up to 13, so this did the trick for me last year. And then also, I am using and I wrote notes from last year, which was helpful. I'm using a 16, where'd it go? I'm using a 16 millimeter socket. So, I'm gonna do this. Let's see if I can set this up so you can see it as I'm doing it. It's proving to be pretty difficult to film and do. I'm gonna hold on to this with my left hand, basically not let this drain tube move because it goes into the engine. You don't want that to move. I'm just gonna be turning this counterclockwise, the wrench. So I'm gonna go this direction to loosen the nut counterclockwise. Right now, I'm gonna let the oil drain out. Be right back. Okay, so this is just a tip because I am having difficulty actually. Yeah, that's not supposed to be like that. All right. I am having difficulty getting this bolt off. I did this last year. I actually made a note of it. So heat helps loosen nuts and metal in difficult circumstances. So whether or not you have a torch, this is a proper heat gun. I'm gonna put some heat on this for about a minute, maybe 2 minutes, help loosen that up, and then we'll give this another go. Then we can let the oil drain naturally, then I'm gonna tip it backwards, let the oil drain through gravity. Okay, so I was able to loosen the nut just enough with the heat. That was enough, so I have it hand tightened right now, or hand loosened. Oil should be piping hot. This thing's very hot actually right now. So you could wear gloves. I don't have them. I do have them, but all right. Do not lose your nut. Put it somewhere where you will not lose it. So we're gonna let this drain naturally. I just have a bucket. So it looks pretty gross. This was sitting all spring, summer, fall, and we're just getting ready for the winter. Okay, and when it's starting to dribble out and not have a very good stream, that's when you're gonna tip the machine back. So I'm gonna put both hands on here. Let's see if I can do it with one hand for the demonstration. Okay, so I'm tipping it back. We're getting all the excess oil out. So I'm gonna let that go, put this down, and we'll be right back. Yeah, so you can really, once you get this, you can really tip it down. I have it almost, not quite vertical, but pretty damn close. So yeah, we got all the old oil out now. Just gonna let the last couple of drips go, then we'll move on to the next step. Strained out all the oil. We're gonna put our cap back on. Maybe this year I won't put it on so tight. I think I over tightened it last year perhaps. So hand tight, then I'm gonna grab the wrench, hold on to this again, and then flip my socket setting and tighten it clockwise. Not super tight. Then we'll get rid of this extra oil and move on. Okay guys, we're moving on to the next step. So like I said, tighten this guy up to the specs, you're good to go. Next up, check out the manual. There's different schools of thought on what weight of oil, whether it's 5W30, 10W30. I'm gonna be using 10W30. It's what I used last year. It's in the biggest range for me. It just works fine. I did make a note last year. It took about 9/10 of a quart. So also I have a quart indicator here. So what I'm trying to say is I have a 1.25 gallon. So that is 5 quarts. On the left here, however you want to do this, but this is how I'm doing it. Make a mark of where you were when you started. If you're using this type of method, if you're just using a quart, that's fine. You can skip this step. So I'm starting here, a little below the 4. So I want to go right around there. So not quite exactly, a little bit higher. So I'm gonna fill it. Once I keep filling it through the funnel, check, come back, make sure I'm not overfilling it. All right, so next, take off the oil cap. I just did the yellow cap. Put that to the side. You may or may not need the funnel. I'm gonna use it. I'm gonna support it with one hand, pour the oil into the other hand. Again, making sure to not overfill. Just keep checking my measurements. We'll go back and then we'll show you how to check it. Okay, so I filled it. Not quite, probably have to put a little bit more in, but I want to be safer than sorry and check it. So to check it, grab your oil cap, and ideally you want the oil between the 2 dots. So full's at the top, technically. You don't want to go higher than that ever. Too much oil is bad. Too much, not good. So up to the full, or between the first dot and second dot, right in the middle there. So to check, you're gonna put it in, push down. Do not screw it. Just leave it like this. Pull it back up. So I don't know if the camera's picking that up. It's kind of tough to see. I'm very close. I'm gonna do that again. I'm gonna wipe this off and try again. All right, just because it's tricky sometimes, wiped it off. I'm gonna stick it back in again, not tightening it. Just pushing down, making it sit at the top there. I'll pull it back out and check. So I'm gonna try to focus this camera. All right, so it's almost in the middle, not enough. We're gonna put a little bit more and then recheck. Okay, so I got the oil right about the mark where we said we were aiming for. So I cleaned off the stick, putting it in, letting it sit for a second. All right, so that's good. We're right up around the top. I'm gonna flip it over, see if you can, no, it's kind of tough to see in some of this lighting here. So it's right up on the second dot. So that is good. We're gonna screw this in, hand tight, not too tight, and then we'll move on. Okay, so now I'm just gonna double check, make sure everything starts up properly. So again, we're gonna turn our fuel back on. We're gonna turn the ignition key on, make sure everything's tightened up. Oil cap's good. Fuel plug is still good down here. That's nice and tight. Also, it should be fine because we just ran it a moment ago. But I'm gonna turn the choke up just for the time being. I can always turn it off. Again, I'm gonna start it using the electric. Hold the button. So I'm gonna let that run for about a minute. Then I'm gonna check the oil level again, make sure that the oil level's good, because now's the time to do it while we have all the tools out.
Alright guys, that was it. You just changed the oil in your snowblower. So if you like this video, feel free to give me a thumbs up if you liked it. Subscribe to my channel. Check out my other snowblower tutorial videos. Thanks and have a great day.